In the middle of learning about the Hebrew letters, and we're only at letter YUD. It's taken us about 3 months so far, and we've only got to 10 letters. Isn't that amazing? Back to Hebrew school. Are you guys ready? But before we do that, I just want to mention something very important. Obviously, you can't ignore what's going on in LA right now, and there's so many people that we know personally that have been affected by the fires, and we want to wish them and bless everybody that you may know or that lives here with peace and health, because that's what matters most, but also wealth, that also matters, and we should all have a meaningful and good life. Amen. So just a quick mention that the Talmud says like this. It's actually in Pirkei Avot, it's in the Ethics of Our Fathers, and it's a very well-known teaching, that it says that when a person leaves this world, money and gold does not accompany you. Okay, when we leave this world, en melavin lo le'adam, accompanying a person, lo kesef, velo zahav, not silver, not gold, lo avanim tovot, not beautiful stones, marble, stones, kitchen, right? Margaliot, diamonds, all these diamonds, none of it follows us. What does follow us? And the answer is Torah and ma'asim tovim, good deeds that we do in this world. That stays with us forever. And all the wisdom that we learn, that stays with our soul forever. But things we get detached from and there's nothing left. And it's almost very similar experience to what many people experienced this week. Money, they had a big house, all of a sudden, they thought they're going out for an hour, 2 hours, evacuation, they came back, all gone. It's like a disconnect from something that you thought is you, but it's not you, it's what you own. And a lot of times you identify with the things you own as you. And sometimes when it's taken away from us, we realize, that's not me, that was something I had, but it's not me. And the same can be said about everything we own, even our arm, our body. The arm is something I have, and it's not me. Okay, I don't want to get too into that, but listen to what the Midrash says. This is a Midrash in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer. He says like this, that there's 3 friends that you have. And he gives an example. Listen to this example. We all have 3 different friends. One is a friend that you go to, and if, let's say, let me give you an example. Somebody, not you. Somebody is committed an act of evil and he has to go to court. He did something very wrong. He was caught stealing and he has to go to court. And he's nervous. So he goes to his friends, 3 different friends. His first friend, he tells them, listen, they told me that I did theft. And they caught me. It wasn't me. It was AI. They made an image of me. It wasn't me. And your friend says to you, what? They said that about you? That you stole? No way. They're lying. How can they say that about you? And you say to him, listen, I have to go to court. Can you come with me? And the first friend you go to says, listen, I'm your friend. I'll be there for you at any time. But court? I'm not walking in that place. I don't want to be seen there. I don't want to go in there. I'm sorry. I love you, but I can't come with you to court. He goes to his next friend, and he tells him the same story. They accuse me of theft. So he says to his friend, can you help me? And his friend says, what? You're the best guy ever. How can that be? And he says, I'm going to come with you. But will you come with me in the court? I'm going to sit in court. Will you come with me inside? Will you stay with me? No. I'll drive you there, but I won't stay with you. And then comes the last friend, the final of the 3, and he goes up to him and he says, hey, listen, I've been accused of theft. Would you come with me to court? His friend says, they accuse you of theft? You're my friend. No way, I'm going to come with you to court. I'm going to sit with you in court. I'm going to be there by your side until the end, and I'm going to accompany you, drive you home also. You're not going alone the whole way through. I'm with you all along. Who are these 3 friends? The rabbi said, this is what Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says. The first friend you go to is money. And we say to money, I spent my whole life chasing after you. I always have been chasing more money and more money. From, it says, mitzet hachama ad tzet haneshama. There's a saying, from the time that the sun comes out till the time that my soul goes out. All I think about is how can I make more money? Money, money, money. So eventually you feel very attached to it. You invested so much. Money, come with me. What does money say? I can't come with you. Well, you want me to be buried with you? I can't come with you. So you go to the second friend. And who's the second friend? The second friend is your family, your friends. And you say to them, listen, I'm leaving this world. Can you come with me? So the friend says, the family says, we'll come with you. We'll sit by your funeral and we'll cry for you. We'll even make tears for you. We'll speak about you. But do you want me to be buried with you? I can't come with you. And then finally you go to the final friend. And that's Torah u'masim tovim, all the good things you do. And that says to you, oh, you're going? You're leaving this world, I'm coming with you. Wherever you go, I go. What does it say? It brings a verse. What does it say? It says, Halach lefanecha tzidkecha. This is a verse. It says, all the righteousness you go walks before you. It goes ahead of you. And that's how you leave this world. The money you made, it's gone. You're going to bury a person with money? What's the point? It goes to the kids, to whoever it is, if you have. And the family, they can't get buried with you. The only thing that you take with you is your good deeds and Torah. Gives you perspective. So I think personally that what I've learned and what I'm remembering in this situation, and it's hard, don't get me wrong, it's not easy. Money is something where people sweat. It's called your blood. It's something you work for. And people have lost so much. But we have to also remember that as much as it is, it's not everything. What really matters is what we do in this world. Never lose perspective. When someone has the right perspective, they're able to recover. It might take time, but they're able to recover. Anyway, so that was my thought about what's going on in the world. Okay, we're learning about the letter YUD, which is number? 10. Okay, people are looking. Okay, great. So number 10. 10 is a number of? 10. What does 10 represent to you? When you say the word 10, number 10, what does it represent in your mind?
A decade. 2 hands.
A decade?
Commandments?
Commandments, okay, Jewish, yeah.
2 hands.
Okay, 2 hands, 5 and 5, yeah. Which ties to the commandments, 5 and 5. Aha. Okay, anyone else?
$10.
Okay, $10, everyone to their own. Okay, so 10 represents a completion, a whole unit, shalem. Okay, and we're going to be talking about that. Let's move on. We're going to be talking a little bit about the letter Yud and what that represents. For those that have missed till now, we've been through the depth of all the first 9 letters. Now we're going into the letter 10. It's the smallest, you'll see, Kabbalistically. By the way, we're talking about this because in Judaism, this is the way the world was created. All the letters are a build-up of how the world was created and what we can learn from it. It's a story. The letters in Hebrew have a story, a message of your life, and it's really profound. So the letter Yud is the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and it represents, at this point, completion, the end of a person's life and the world to come. Okay, so the next world. So it actually fits into what I was just speaking about, how we shouldn't be too attached to physical things, because when they get taken away from us, what happens to us? When physical things get taken away, then we get very, very broken from it, because they are not us. We identify with it and then we get broken. So Yud represents, the letter Yud symbolizes spiritual perfection, completion, like we said, the world to come, expansion, passing on from one space to another. You're expanding. Listen to carefully. Humility. That's why it's the smallest letter. Anytime you have an extra Yud, it represents humility in the Hebrew alphabet. And the idea of being close. Someone is close to you. Okay? It's a close proximity. And we're going to be speaking about all these ideas. And notice, there's a lot of ideas I'm going to be sharing with you, but my main wish for tonight is that you come out with the messages that come out of these ideas, not just a bunch of ideas, but what's the message? Okay? And the message should be tonight that it's not only about this world and earning and making money and having things. We need to sometimes detach and realize what's really important in life. Okay, so this is interesting. The verse in Chagiga, and this is what the Zohar says, is a verse that represents, where's my clicker? That represents, if you look, Bitchu ba'Hashem, trust God, adayad, forever. Forever and ever. Don't trust things. Things don't last forever. Don't trust people. You could trust them, that they're going to be kind to you or whatever, but don't put all your faith in people. Because what's going to happen to them? Are they forever? No. You trust somebody, he's going to give me a job. That man is going to give me a good job. Don't do that. You hope. You act, but don't put your faith in him. Oh, I'm comfortable now because that person's going to give me a job. Don't trust people because they are also mortal. Right? So trust in Hashem who's forever. Ki b'yah Hashem tzur olamim. Because Yah is Hashem's name. Yud K is one of God's name. And he, b'yah Hashem, with Yah, Hashem created the worlds. With Yah, Hashem created worlds. And if you look at Yah, Yud and Hey, the Yud represents the higher worlds outside of the physical dimension, and Hey represents the physical reality that we're in. God is what created this physical world and created the higher worlds beyond the physical reality. Don't trust in the physical reality because that's not enough. Trust in something that's the source of all reality, that knows the bigger picture. That's the saying. What's it trying to teach me? Again, that there's two worlds, the physical world and the spiritual world. The Yud represents the spiritual world. Okay. Where's the first time we see Yud in the Torah? Let's go. So it says, Yahi or, let there be light. So the word Yud, Hey, Yud, has a Yud right at the beginning of it. And that's the first time you see a letter Yud in the Torah. It means let there be, or to emerge, to become. Because everything that is in this world, really, physical reality, has a spiritual reality that's behind it. Don't think that its existence is just random. It has a spiritual source behind it. Okay, Yud is the beginning of all reality and the end of all reality. The beginning of the creation and the end of all creation is where we're going to, is also this idea of Yud, which is the spiritual dimension. Now look at this. That's why we said that Aleph represents infinity in the past, in the classes that we had till now. It represents infinity. How much is Aleph in Gematria? How much is it worth? 1. God is 1, right? What does it mean that God is 1? It means that he's infinite. Takes all of infinity. There's nothing else but him. So in Kabbalah teaching, God created the world through this little speck and then eventually brought together the entire universe. And we said that Bet was the finite world eventually, and giving, Gimel means to give, Dalet is to take, everyone's giving and taking. We said all of this. But if you look carefully, the beginning of God's name is, what's that letter? It's a Yud. Can you see? So the beginning of Aleph, which is from where the beginning speck of the entire world was actually hidden in the Aleph. So it's Yud, Aleph, Yud, which adds up to 26, but here you have a Yud, which represents the beginning of the higher world to which he brought down into existence the physical world that we're in. Basically, the first speck of the higher worlds is represented in the Yud. And what's the end? So if you go through the first 10, you get complete, you go through life, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Het, Yud. Why does it start with Yud and end with Yud? Our rabbis teach us a very important teaching, which is that since God is infinite, listen to this teaching, Na'utz sofo b'tchilato. God thinks of the end at the beginning. When you build a building, you think of the end result from the beginning. You have the plan from the beginning, and then you build towards that plan, that you envision how you want the building to be built. If you don't do that, what happens to the building? It collapses, it doesn't work, it will fail. The way you succeed in building something is having, right from the beginning, the end result. Do you know what we say on Shabbat? On Lecha Dodi. There's a song we sing on Lecha Dodi, we say, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. We say Lecha Dodi, it says, one of the words is, Sof ma'aseh, the end result was in the initial thought. What was the end result? We say on Shabbat. Shabbat was the end result. When was the initial thought? Creation. At the time of creation, God was already thinking of Shabbat. Meaning, one of the purposes of creation is, so we should have what we call Shabbat. It's a purpose, it's a goal of creation. And really, that is also the whole world. God put us into this world, so we should be able to give and take and be godly, be spiritual. And through the challenges of this world, we go back to our source. Okay, so Yud, then comes the world, Bet Gimel Daled Hey Vav Zayin Chet Tet, and then Yud. By the way, if you want to know about all these other letters, very important, then you have to listen to my class on YouTube. But eventually, you get back to Yud. So the beginning thought of creation was already thinking of the end result, which is when we leave this world. Okay? Does any of this make sense? Don't get too stuck in the physical world. Know what you are here for and what your purpose is. Okay, look. This is where they took it from. These thieves. Right? Yud. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So look how a Yud is meant to Kabbalistically represent a hand. That's why if you say the name Yud, you have in it Yad. Yud ve'Daled. Yad. So a Yud represents a hand. Why does your hand represent the world to come? Or the next world? Does anyone know? Anyone can think? Why would a hand represent the world to come? Strength, okay. Right, we do actions. That's the way we get there. So in Kabbalah they say like this. Very interesting, that the hand is the edge where you pass on to someone else. If you want to pass something from you to someone else, you'll do it with your hand. You use your hand to pass to someone else. That's also how it works with us to the next world. The hand is a message of we are moving somewhere to go somewhere else. We're being passed on. That's what we actually use in the language when someone passes away. So the Yud represents the higher world because it means giving over to another space, going into another space. And that's why whenever you have the word Yad, a lot of times it means to expand. Al Yad Hayao means right by the edge of the river, because you're going from one space to another. When you're at the edge of something, going from one space to another, they'll use the word Yud. Yad spelled out Yud. Yud spelled out Yad. And that means going from one place to another. Okay. Does any of this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So, look at this. Has anyone heard of Yad Vashem? What's Yad Vashem? Has anyone heard of that place?
Anyone who's been on Birthright or in Israel? Yeah.
Right, you've heard of Yad Vashem? Where's that name from? It's a verse in Isaiah, Nun Vav, chapter 55. It's actually a verse in Jewish text in the prophets, and it means to give a hand and a name. A hand and a name. Yad Vashem Tov. Do you know what it is? That God promises that we will always give a good hand and name in this world. The Jewish people will never be forgotten. This is what it says in the translations, Mitzudat David, one of the translations. Ad olam yizkor letovah. The Jewish people will be remembered forever for good. Asher lo yikaret zichron shemo. The name of the Jewish people will never be forgotten. Isn't that a perfect name for the organization, Yad Vashem? Right? That you, no matter what they do to us, the Jewish people will never be wiped out. In fact, the opposite. They try and wipe you out more, but our memory comes even more aware to the world. Those people that got killed have now left a legacy. They've left meaning. They've taught the world what murder means. A new definition. That thou shalt not murder in the Torah, really what it means. Do you know who taught us what that means? The Nazis taught us that what thou shalt not murder means to another whole level. And the Jews that were sacrificed for it taught the world that message also. The world has a better understanding of what good is over evil. So we, the Jewish people, have left a Yad Vashem Tov, a really good hand and name. But hand is the language that's used to express a person that's left this world, went into another world, and left over a great, this is why I use my mic, and left over a great name. They passed over with their hand, and they left a great name. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to live a life where we have meaning and we leave a Shem Tov. Okay. The Zohar says, Sod HaYud. If you look at all the other letters around it, they have a lot of empty space in it. Can you see Aleph has an empty space in it, Zayin has empty space. Yud, which represents the higher worlds, is like a dot. And it tells me, this is what the Zohar says, Sod HaYud hi nekuda achat. It's one little dot. Why? Because it's the only letter that's completely filled. And from that, all of reality comes. But physical reality, which is hidden in a lot of the other letters, do you know what they have? They have a lot of stuff around it. That imaginary. It makes us believe that this is everything. And with all the other letters, we have this imaginary idea. Just like matter, what's matter mostly made out of? Really, what matter is made out of is nothing. It's just electrons moving so quickly that gives us the image that it's something, but most of what we see is nothing. That's how we approach the physical world. We are, in a way, in a world where it gives us the image that this is everything. If somebody here wins the lottery, wow! And the excitement is much greater than the reality. After a year, 2 years, 3 years, the excitement changes. Also, when something sad happens, oh no! The breakdown is so much greater than the reality. When something good happens, wow! When something bad happens, oh no, at the time. But then over time, you realize that it wasn't, okay, I won the lottery. I know that someone's going to now say, it will still be nice. I know it would be nice. Trust me, I buy the lottery ticket once in a while too. And every time I don't buy it, my dad used to make this joke, then I win it. Because I didn't buy it. Okay, so Yud represents the spiritual worlds, which is what you see is what you get. That's what humility is also. Humility is what you see is what you get. The physical world builds up this image that this is so great, this is going to give me, right? When you ever had that feeling when you order something, and as you're like, when is it coming? I need it to arrive right now. But then when you get it, okay, I got it. I didn't need it that quickly. Does anyone here actually say when you order something on Amazon, you say, okay, you know what, I'll make the order for 3 days later?
Sometimes they have like rewards if you do that.
Oh, you get rewards if you do it? Okay. Anyone else? But without the rewards, you'll do it? You'll be like, no, I want it now. Well, I'm ordering it. I want it today. I want it tomorrow. We, in our minds, make the physical reality as if it's like, what, I need it now. But then when we get it, when we attain it, oh, it's not as exciting as we thought it would be. So that is how the physical world is. The spiritual world is a reality that's exactly what you see is what you get. And that's how the world was created. Okay, why is that so? Why is the world like this? Because it tests us. It makes us great. Through this world, we choose to become great. How do we do that? Because we have to overcome sometimes temptations in order to do what's right. What's the temptation? This is going to be so good when we know it's not, okay? This is how what we call the Yetzer Hara teaches us. Okay, but even in reality, in the physical world, scientifically, a little bit has a huge impact. If you touch an atom, right, then what do you get? If we are able to plug into an atom, we'll get an atom bomb. Scientifically, every little bit of reality can have so much more of an effect on the larger scale. If you touch a seed of an apple before you plant it, you can have an effect on the whole tree. Once the seed is planted and the tree has grown, if you try and have an effect on the tree, it won't be as much. But at the beginning, at the source of things, the effect is so much greater. That's what the YUD represents. It's reality fully, with no stuff around it. Okay, so that's another idea. Another thing very important, YUD. Why is YUD so small? Says Mipnei Shekol Mi, says Otiyot Rabbi Akiva, the great Rabbi Akiva says, anyone who makes himself small in this world and gets rid of his pride will merit to have a great portion in the next world. According to Jewish teaching, humility is the greatest good trait you can have. And humility does not mean that you say, are you good at your job? I'm not that good. No, you say, I am very good. There's no one like me, if it's true. But you also have to understand that if other people have your quality, they could do well too. It doesn't mean that because I have my qualities, that I am now better and I should be above other people. I may be better in my skills, but if they had my skills, if they had my IQ, if they had my abilities, they would be equally as good as me, if not more. That should be the approach of every person. Everything I have is a gift. I have a gift. My brain is a gift. My movements are a gift. My health is a gift. I didn't earn it. I just have it. If someone has that approach, they will succeed in everything they do. And according to Jewish teaching, that is the ticket for you to Olam Haba. Okay, oops, I hope your chair survives. Okay, so, yes. Okay, so what's 10 in Hebrew? Eser, very good. Eser comes from a few words. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Eser means 10. But we said Eser is the idea of completion. The rabbis explain that Eser means also Asiyat Sar. Doing, Asiyah means to do. Sar, what the Creator wants us to do. A wealthy person, Eser also means Ashir. Listen to all these words hidden in the word Eser. Eser comes from the word Ashir also, which means wealthy. A wealthy person is someone who does the will of God, not his own will. Not just follows my feelings. A wealthy person is someone who's happy with what he's achieved in his life. Okay. If somebody's able to look correctly at the physical world, he will be considered as wealthy. Someone who's not able to see the physical world correctly will never be happy. What does it say in Pirkei Avot? Ezehu Ashir, Hasameach Bechelko. Who's wealthy? Someone who's happy with what he has. Not what someone else has, what I wish I had, what I have. How do you become that? The answer is Oseh Sar. Asiyat Sar. You make yourself a creator. You say to yourself, whatever he gives me is good for me. I'm happy with whatever I've got. The money I've made, I'm happy with. That does not mean you're not ambitious. People always make this mistake. If you're happy with what you have, you are happy the next morning when you wake up. Okay? Someone who's depressed with what they have, they go to bed and then life is stupid. I wish I had another $1 million. I only have $1 million. I wish I had 2. I wish I had 3 million. And he goes to bed. How would he wake up the next day? Not excited. But somebody who only has 100,000, not only, that's a nice amount, 100,000 in his account, and he says, I have a job, I have some money in my account, I feel good. He goes to bed, he doesn't have 1 million, he's not dreaming of 2 million, he's happy with what he has. How does he wake up the next morning? Excited. Okay, so somebody who feels happy with what they have, they don't feel the need to have more, they are actually the most ambitious. They are the ones that actually do make more. Not the other way around. Don't be fooled. The one that complains and wishes he had more is unhappy with what he has and is not as ambitious and is not able to succeed to his fullest extent. It's the one that's really happy that is the one that's doing more as well. What does it say? If you love money, you'll never be happy with money. You always want more. Do you know what it says by Jacob? Jacob and Esau are about to meet each other. Esau represents, do you remember the story? Who does Esau represent? The two brothers, twins. Esau represents evil and Jacob represents good. Esau represents Edom, the history of the enemy of the Jewish people. Okay? And Jacob represents a really good Jew. And they meet each other. And you know what Esau says? Esau says, Yeshli Rav, I have a lot. Jacob says, I have everything. Do you know what the difference is between the two? Perspective. I have everything versus I have a lot. Who's happier? The person that says I have everything or the person who says I have a lot? I have everything. I don't need any more. Someone who says I have a lot, what's he saying? I still need double. I have a lot, but I need double. Okay? Yesh li rav or yesh li kol. Jacob says yesh li kol. Do you know who else did that? Haman. Haman represented the great-grandchild of Esav. And he was the guy from Megillat Esther, from the story of Esther, the story of Purim. And he wanted to kill all the Jews. You remember that story? Haman. So what did he do? Boo, yeah, Gregor. So what did he do? He said, I am the wealthiest, I am the most successful person. But all of my money, all my wealth is not worth anything to me. Do you know why? Because Mordechai, that Jewish rabbi, is not bowing down to me. He missed a little bit of ego. He couldn't bear the fact that he's not bowing down to him. So what did he say? Everything I have is not worth it to me. He has a massive mansion, beautiful home. Can you imagine somebody with a huge home and they walk out of the home and say, nothing's worth it to me, I hate my life. And they walk out. How can someone do that? But that's how people are. If you're not able to see the good that you have in your life, what you don't have will drive you nuts. And it will control you. And what you have will be as if it's nothing. Okay? So that's why Eser is Yud. Yud represents the world to come. And the world to come is what you should be understanding, that this world, when it comes to physical things, is not everything. It's nice to have money. We can use money to do good. But it's not everything. What really matters is my deeds and the good I do in this world. Okay. Let's go to the next thing. Interesting. The Yud in the nucleotide, which is your genes, right? They are based on the four different, the A, T, C, and H, okay? Now, they call it here in our language, right? The A, U, C, and H. We call it its own names. Adenine, uracil, cytosine, and guanine are these four codes that we have in our genes. According to Judaism, that coding is just names. According to Judaism, that coding is actually Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, God's name. And it has exactly the same similarities. What did we say Yud represents? The higher worlds. Hey represents the lower worlds, bringing the higher into physical reality, bringing an idea into reality. Now let's look at it. The adenine, Yud symbolizes the spark of creation. Adenine is the essential energy source in DNA. Meaning the beginning of the DNA, the source energy of DNA is the adenine. That is the Yud. Just like the Yud is the ultimate source of the idea before it comes into reality. And then Hey is the thymine. Hey represents structure and understanding. Thymine organizes all the code and puts it together. Just like Hey is bringing an idea into reality. If anyone's been in my classes till now, Hey represents bringing something from an idea into reality. So you actually have what we call Yud Hey Vav Hey hidden in your genes, in your DNA, in your blood. You have Yud K Vav K all over. We just don't know about it. Okay, Vav, what does Vav mean? Anyone who's been to a class of mine till now? Does anyone here know what Vav represents? Oh no, I give up. Alon, what did Vav represent? What did Vav represent? Do you remember? Vav looks like a hook.
Like something.
6, yes. What does it represent?
You hang on to it?
Yeah, it's connecting. It's a connecting force. So we said Yud represents in God's name the higher worlds. Hey is bringing it down into a more structured reality. Vav is connecting. And Hey is what you finally see at the end. Look at this. Vav is the cytosine of the 4 parts of your DNA. Look what it says. Vav connects realms. What does cytosine do? It ensures proper pairing and flow in genetic information. It connects the genetic information. It's not me saying it. You can just do the research on your own. You'll realize that all of what I've been speaking about God's name, is hidden in a lot of codes that we have when it comes to reading the world. Okay, we'll leave it for there, but we'll continue. Okay, we'll go on to another idea. I'll skip another point that I said. Oh, maybe I'll say it. See? Oh, you can't even see it so well. Okay, what happens when you add Yud at the end of a word? So you've got Ben, which means son. Beni, my son. Good. Am is, you said it, a nation. Ami, my nation. Okay, whenever you add Yud to the end of a word, it means mine. Do you know why? Because Yud represents the spiritual, and that's who is really you. Whenever we add Yud to a word, it means it literally means to be mine. Why? Because the Yud represents what really is you. What is really you? Your soul. Okay? An arm, a hand. Is that really you? No, it's just a thing you have. Just like I have a kippah. And I like to move it. I also like to move my hand. Okay? So the hand, I move. My kippah, I move. Is that me? No, it's something I wear. My hair, is that me? No, it's something I have. My body, my legs, is that me? No. God forbid when someone who came here, if they don't have their legs, are they still around? Yes. Because who is you? Who are you? That's your real self, the inner self, the Yud, your soul, your neshama. Okay? So that's why whenever we add Yud to the end of a word, it will now give the meaning of mine. Because what Yud really means is the real self, the real you. Okay. It says that do you know what this is? Anyone know what that is? Alon. What is this? Yes, mezuzah. Okay, so by the way, guys, if you buy a mezuzah, you don't just get the outside thing. That's not enough. You've got to get the scroll that's written by a sofer, a scribe, and it takes him a long time, and he writes beautifully the text, and then he rolls it, and he puts it inside. Okay? This is a different type of roll, the Jewish type of roll. And we put it inside, and we have a mezuzah, and we kiss it. Okay? So that's the mezuzah. Now it says that on the back of the mezuzah, we write the letters Shin, Daled, Yud. Shin, Daled, Yud is one of God's names. Shin, Daled, Yud, Sha, Kai, which means that God said stop. When did God say stop? To the whole world, God said stop. The entire world, he said stop. Because the world is completely, all the time it's growing, it was expanding. Everything needs to be perfectly fine-tuned. Do you understand how this world is so fine-tuned that if it was a little bit more, we wouldn't be able to exist? Too close to the sun, we would burn. Too far from the sun, we would freeze. Everything, we're in the most perfect situation for life. That we have trees, we have an atmosphere, we have air, everything we have is because the world is so fine-tuned for it. If we have a little less oxygen, we wouldn't survive. If we had too much oxygen, we would all explode. We have everything perfect. That's called Shakai. That's one of God's names. That He made the world to precise precision that we can't even put in words. That God gets a name. Dai, She'amar le'olamo dai. He said in every aspect of this world, dai, stop. You know, dai, yenu on Pesach. Dai means to stop. God made the world stop. So we also say, Shaddai. When we come into the house, there's a shin on every mezuzah, and it represents the idea that God is saying, stop. Stop to what? All the negative forces. All the evil that's out there, I don't want it to come in my home. And that's what the home represents. We have a mezuzah in every Jewish home. It represents shmirah. God's guarding us. Just like He said stop to the entire world, He'll say stop to anything negative from coming in my home. If anyone doesn't have a mezuzah, great plug-in, I can get you one. Okay? So come to me afterwards. But that's what the mezuzah actually represents. Shakai. At the end of the name Shakai is the letter YUD. YUD represents guarding. And you know when you wear tefillin, there's a YUD on the arm, on the knot. So if you could see, I don't know, you can't see it very well, but this is actually a knot that's tied in a very specific way, and it makes the shape of a YUD. And you tie it on your arm. And then on the headpiece, you have a shin. It has 4 parts for the 4 compartments. The other side will have 3. And you have a daled. This knot here is also very specific. So you have the shin, the daled, shin, daled, and yud against the heart. And what it is again, the letter yud is bringing the spiritual worlds and giving you shmirah. When a man has tefillin, and a woman and a person has in his home a mezuzah, and they are going in the way of Hashem, they have shmirah from all aspects of life. Okay? And there are many other things that he says that it does. The Zohar says that when someone is enveloped with the letters Yud, God, in his home, on his tefillin, in his body also, we all had a Brit Milah, all the men at least, right? We all had circumcision. You have God on your body. And when a person walks there, you're like a king. You have God on your head, on your arm, you've got God's name everywhere, on your door. And what that does, it gives you an extra level of shmirah. It says actually that the end of the name Aleph Daled Nun Yud, for teaching purposes, I can say Adonai, the name Adonai, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, the last letter is Yud. And the first letter of God's name, Yud Hei Vav Hei, is also Yud. God's got 2 main names, Yud Hei Vav Hei and Aleph Daled Nun Yud. The first is Yud, the last is Yud. They represent the 10 fingers on your hands, the higher Yud, the higher levels, and then you also have 10 fingers on your feet. And you have a mouth, and we are meant to use it in a way of Kedusha. In between the top and the bottom of my body, I am literally surrounded with the idea of God. And that's what it really represents. Okay, sounds good? So you should always have a mezuzah on your door. It's beautiful for shmirah, for guarding us, and for doing really good stuff. Okay, we're almost finished. One of the last slides. Does anyone know what that means? Light, or what does this mean?
Air.
Good. It also means, but literally, to the point, it means air. Avir is air. What's the connection between light and air? This is what the Zohar, thousands of years ago, said. Listen to this. Not me, not you. Thousands of years ago, not with science, not ChatGPT. This is what he said. Do you know what it says there's a verse in Tehillim, in Psalms, which says, Oteh or kasalma. God put on light a blanket. Noteh shamayim kayeriah. He extends the heavens like a curtain, but he put on light a blanket. What does that mean? Says the Zohar. If you look at or and avir, they're the same word. Just, or avir has a yud in it. It also has an extra vav to it in order for me to pronounce it right. But really, or and avir are the same word, just this has a yud. Says the Zohar, do you know what God did? He took an extra sense of himself, created light, and then in order to have the air, the atmosphere, he enveloped the atmosphere with YUD. He took light and added himself to the light to create atmosphere, the air. And this is what it says. Word for word. Air is something that Hashem took with the letter YUD and added it to the word light in order to create the light the air that we have. So originally he had light and he brought air also. What does that mean? Listen to what we say in scientifically. Okay, light interacts with air. How do we have light? Well, we have a sun, true, but what happens in space? Have you ever seen pictures of space? It's not so colorful over there. How come? Do you know why? Yes, because it doesn't have the atmosphere. Okay, space is mostly black because there's no atmosphere to scatter the light. And our eyes perceive the absence of light as black. It doesn't have color as much as Earth. But when you come on Earth, right, why is the sky blue? It's because light is hitting it and there's an atmosphere that breaks the light and it gives off a different color. The sea is only blue because of light hitting it, which gives off a different color. So it's God's kindness that we live in a world where we have all these colors. All because we have light, we can see, but we also have beautiful colors around us. Or and avir mixed together, light and atmosphere mixed together to give us the colors that we have. And this is written thousands of years ago. Isn't that amazing? That light and air is what merges together to give us the colors that we perceive. We always knew that the blue is not sky. The sky's not blue. We always knew that the sky's not blue. And the ocean's not really blue. But what it is the breaking of light through avir, through the air and the atmosphere. To me, that's just mind-blowing. Okay? So, what we learned today, the letter YUD, which is the smallest letter of all, symbolizes spiritual perfection. It symbolizes the world to come. Okay? Which is what's the focus, not the focus meaning we should try and get there quicker, but it's the focus meaning that things in this world that we sometimes are too addicted to is not everything. What matters is what we do in this world as a person. Okay? And it means expansion, because when we live in this world only, when we have to know that we are like a hand going and moving from this world to another world. This is temporary. It represents humility because it's the smallest letter, and it's what you see is what you get. And it represents the idea of being very close. Okay? Why is it close? Because we are all very close to leaving this world. Life is very, very short. I started here 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Look how quick, boom, 7 years went by. Life is quick, it's short. Make the most, okay? That's why YUD represents very close. Okay, in summary, Aleph, which represents infinity, created a finite world. This is the story of the Aleph till YUD. You ready for this? For those that missed till now, here's a summary of Aleph till YUD. Aleph, which represents God, the infinite creator. That's why Aleph goes in all directions. Created a finite world, Bet, where one gives, Gimel, and the other receives. Everyone is giving and receiving. And what was God's reason to create this world? So we could be givers too, just like He gave to us. Okay? This process eventually brought about the physical world, which is, hey, we said that eventually giving and receiving until the physical world started to come to exist, which exists through connecting energy of Vav. Vav represents connection. If things are not connecting, then they will all scatter. But notice how the world is all interconnected. Everything physical contains a spiritual energy that creates movement. And everything that you see also has a lot of movement in it. That is hidden in the letter Zayin. Humans were given a soul an added spiritual life more than everything else. We have an extra level of movement called the chet, the letter chet, enabling us to rise above the physical. We can be above physical nature, and this grants the humans ability to choose between good and evil. We, humans, can choose. Animals can't, and we've spoken about that. No one else can choose the way we can between good and evil. Okay? And to direct both that movement, the physical body, in service of the soul. We want to try and utilize all of our higher choices to utilize it for the neshama. Every choice made leads you to a reaction, which is tet, which means good for good deeds and bad for bad deeds. If you do good, you get good back to you. If you do bad, bad will come back to you. Everything you do in this world, with the choices you make, will eventually bring back to you what you do, ultimately resulting in good. Eventually, even when someone does bad, he will see good. Why? Because if a person does teshuvah, when a person does teshuvah, he returns from his bad, the goodness of Hashem removes the past and replaces it with good. These are all Jewish values hidden in Aleph till Tet. The end result is that one who prioritizes the spiritual over the physical, for the sake of the next world, receives reward for their good actions, which is YUD. YUD is the next world. Okay, this is the letter, the stories of the letters of Aleph to Taf. Anyone here that begins with the letter YUD in their name? Okay, what's your Hebrew name? Yitzchak. Okay, very good. Listen to this. My name is also Yud. A person whose name begins with Yud, a person with the letter Yud in their name possesses strong spiritual abilities and a pleasant demeanor that is always evident in their appearance. You can see a pleasantness in your face, an extra added amount. That's called Yud. They could sometimes be lazy when it comes to physical tasks, even if they are important. You know why? Because we are so spiritual, because Yud represents the higher worlds, we don't feel connected to the physical, which is a shame, because a lot of times we do need to connect. That's why we're here, right? That's what Judaism wants us to do, to connect to the physical world in order to elevate it. They are filled with lofty aspirations. Sometimes they want to get too high, which at times are impractical for them because they do not belong to such high levels. You didn't get there than what you really are. Nevertheless, they are humble, modest, pure, and acknowledge the truth. Due to their high aspirations for perfection, they may become very critical of others without realizing that this makes it harder for others to function and accomplish what is important and good for them as well. For this reason, it is important for them to gain clarity through Torah study. This will help them understand their current level, manage their expectations, reduce criticism, and judge others favorably. As a result, their outlook will become more loving and more positive. The moral of the story is, whatever letter you are, always study more Torah. Get more involved. Do more Judaism, and you will be a better Jew. Okay? And I think that's it. So thank you. Are there any questions? Yes, the earlier it is in the name, the more significant. Just like in Torah, the first time you'll see a letter, the more significant. Also in your name, the first letter of your name is what's most impactful on you. So like, he's a Yitzchak, my Hebrew name's Yaakov. We will have both very similar energies in regards to the letter. There's other things that influence us. Just that you should know, you're not only influenced by your name, you're also influenced by your genes, by your family, but this is a very big part of your influence, is your name. Yes?
How do you reconcile that with the beginning where you talk about how the Yud is like the start, but it's also the end?
Right.
So is there an equal amount of significance in the Yud being at the end as it is being at the beginning?
Absolutely, because that's why God put us in this world. According to Jewish teaching, we are in this world to face all the challenges so we can own it on our own. There's a teaching in Kabbalah which says that before God created us and put us in this world, we had a soul, we didn't come into this world, then we had what we call Nahama de Kisufa, bread of shame, which means that we were just getting free stuff for no reason. It doesn't feel good. In order to connect to a higher level of godliness, we need to come into this world, choose and become independent. Just like God is independent, we come independent. We have good, we have evil, we can choose to give, we can choose to take, we could choose to be selfish, we could choose to be loving, we could choose to give benefit of the doubt. All of these choices that you make in your life, you own. If you didn't come into this world, it's mine, but if you didn't come into this world, then you wouldn't own all of those choices, right? You'll just be a robot. So it's through this world, through growth in this world, through the challenges that everyone goes through, that's how we achieve real greatness. And that's the YUD from the beginning to the YUD at the end. The only difference is, Bet Gimel Daled Hey Vav Zayin Chet Tet is all the human growth, the lifetime that you go through, of everything that challenges you and everything that goes through your life in order to get there. But that's really the idea. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Malachi?
Where does it talk about that, the bit with the air and the light?
That is the Zohar, and it's in, I just want to prove to you that I didn't make this up. It's in, Zohar is in the Parasha of Pinchas, page 245b, in case you're ever going to check it out. Okay, but he really talks about this. Resh Memhei. He actually talks about this idea of air and light merging together to give us what we see. Without atmosphere, we wouldn't have the vision of what we see. We'll have light, but not really. Yes?
When you were talking about there was a point where God said stop, was
Yeah.
that referring to like when he finished creating the earth and switched on to more of just a watching role?
Okay, so let's just rephrase that. Although God created the world, he keeps creating the world every day, till today. So you have to understand that the creation is always happening. We have to understand also what creation means for a God. Okay, this is a lot of philosophy. What does it mean that God creates? Physically? Is he creating? The answer is he's thinking. Well, he's not thinking because he's infinite. He doesn't have a brain. He doesn't have a brain like me and you. But the only way you can understand it is thinking. Let me explain to you something very quickly. If you made this chair, okay, and you put it all together and you walked away, will the chair continue to exist? Yes. Why?
Because it's already made.
It's already made. You just put things together. The only thing that the minute you walk away from it, it stops existing is your thoughts. Yes. The only thing that the minute you could think of a house or think of a chair and then stop thinking about it, what happens to that chair? It ceases to exist. So for God, the entire universe is like a thought for us. If that makes sense. This chair is a thought for God in our eyes. Which means that if he ceases this to exist, thinking about it, obviously it's much more than thinking because God is infinite, then this will not exist. The whole entire universe is like that. However, the way that this world works is in a way of what we call fine-tuning. Okay, and scientifically they call it that way, and it's very much in line with Judaism. The way that the world was created is in a fine-tuned way to demonstrate to us how great and vast the Creator is. Millions of stars, 10 to the power of 19, just to understand the amount of stars. The space is so large, for what? What's all of this for? To tell me the greatness of the Creator, that he's infinite. And so that I can go through this world with actually a realization that there's a Creator. Now all of this is what for? Is all of it was made with precise, exact decisions. Everything was perfectly fine-tuned. And if it was even slightly off, it wouldn't exist. Everything would blow up, wouldn't work, wouldn't. Right? The expansion of the universe has to be a perfect speed. If it was expanding too quickly, we would all just disappear. Gravity is perfect. If you go to other planets, the size of the planet is too big, so gravity will pull you down. Do you know what would happen? Right? If you went to another planet, you went to Jupiter, or if you went to Mars, Mars is smaller. So, right? Am I correct? Mars is smaller, Jupiter's bigger. If you put your foot, let's say if you were able to be on Jupiter, you put your foot down on Jupiter, you will never be able to lift your foot up again. Because gravity is too strong. The magnetic pull is so strong because it's such a big planet. Earth has the perfect gravity for you to walk on it. Everything is fine-tuned. It's the perfect place for life, for water. If it was too cold, everything would be frozen. If it was too hot, everything would evaporate. To see water is a miracle, because that means that the atmosphere has to be perfect for it. Okay, we can go on forever. Yes?
By the way,